In today's episode, we'll be discussing the health of the Toronto Raptors franchise, starting with the players, coaches, all the way up to the front office. So plug in with me and let's talk about it. Yo. Welcome back to Raptors Flex Plus. I am your host, Kyle. Yeah. And in today's episode, we will be discussing sort of like a state of the franchise type situation, basically doing a health check on the Toronto Raptors 2023-2024 season. We are nearing the end of November, and it is almost December, y'all. So, from my point of view, it is time to start figuring out, as a franchise, what is the direction of the franchise moving forward, not just this season, but for future seasons. You know? We are 8-8 as of today. It is Sunday, November, I believe it's the 25th. Sunday, November 26th. And we're coming off of a victory against the Bulls, one that I expected us to win. You know, we are a better team than the Bulls. We are a better team than the Bulls. They may have more common household names, being for the fact that they are an American franchise and nobody really watches the Raptors in the US. Like, we're not on any national broadcast television. We don't get those. You know what I'm saying? And there was a time when we used to care so much, like, yo, we're on national TV in the US, like, or why aren't we on national TV in the US? Who cares? Who cares now? Hold on, y'all. I'm taking a sip of my water. I could care less now. It is literally all about the Toronto Raptors. All about the Toronto Raptors. The only time I care to play on national television in the USA is if we are in the NBA Finals. That's the only time I care. Real talk, because that means that you've done something right with your franchise when you make a finals. You're doing something right. Now, you know, there are levels to this. Just because you're not making a finals doesn't mean you're not doing the right things as a franchise. Sometimes it takes development, time, blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice. All those things are necessary for when you get to the mountaintop. It feels different. We're not a franchise like the Lakers or Boston that have 17, 18, 19 championships where they expect to be in the finals every year, right? We are a franchise that, let's just keep it a buck. No matter what Masai says, let's keep it a buck. A lot of American players don't want to come play in Toronto as much as they love the city. You don't hear nobody say anything bad about the city now, right? It's not like Chris Bosh when he left here and he just, I don't know, the man was harboring some feelings for a long time and just felt like it was his time to get it off his chest. All right, cool. Let's not act like he was the first one that ever felt that way about our city. But we know that Toronto is one of the great cities in North America. NBA players will say it. NBA players will say it out of their mouths. Now, why don't they want to come here? I mean, that might be a discussion for another day. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, though, we are a franchise that we're not going to attract a lot of free agents or big name free agents. So we have to build in a different type of way. You build through the draft. You may find players that are undrafted, you develop them, you build through trade, a little bit of luck, a competent coaching staff, basically all the right things need to come together in order for a franchise like the Toronto Raptors to get back to the mountaintop. And we seen it in 2019, baby. We seen it, guy. We seen it. Today I'm wearing my Champions hoodie and my championship hat. But I'll keep it a bean. This franchise doesn't look to be anywhere close to a championship right now, y'all. We don't look like a championship squad. You know? Now it doesn't mean that this franchise can't turn it around at 8-8 so early in the season. But one of the reasons why I was so reserved to just come out on my channel and say trade this guy and trade that guy is because I believe as a competent front office, as a competent coaching staff, even as a fan that covers the team, I want to be responsible in my approach to how I'm covering this team, right? I wanted to at least have like a month's worth of data that I can analyze as well as the eye test and, really simple things like, hey, how are we doing in the standings, right? Because we're 16 games in. If we're 2-14 right now, please believe I'm coming in here and say trade everybody, blow it up, it's done. But we are a middling franchise right now. Last year we were 41-41, I believe. Right at 500. And right now, based on our early play in the season, we appear to be on the same pace to finish somewhere around there. Now, I've always tried to keep my expectations in check for this team. I never believed that we're a type of team that'll have home court advantage in the first round of playoffs. I still don't believe it. If it happens and I'm wrong, I am glad, ecstatic to be wrong. I'll be the first one standing on a chair saying, I'm wrong, everybody. I'm wrong. I'll have no problem with that, right? But I'm trying to look at things objectively. Objectively, with data, with eye test, with a glimpse into the future, right? What is the best way to move forward as a franchise? And that's something that the Toronto Raptors are going to have to decide, I believe, sooner rather than later at this point. We're going into December. Now, I'm not saying December 1st, you got to go trade this guy and trade that guy. But I believe that the franchise, the front office, they've been analyzing everything from training camp to preseason to October to now all throughout November. They've been analyzing everything because I don't believe that they even know what direction they want to go in yet. But they may be a little bit closer as of right now, November 26th. They may be a little bit closer to figuring out what is the best route strategy for this team, not from an X's and O's standpoint, from a team building standpoint. You know what I mean? And if we're just starting with like the elephant in the room, right? Like when we talk about the direction of the team, I've talked about it before. I know we've all talked about it. But in terms of direction, we're really talking about, do you keep Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., trying to figure out how to fit everybody under the cap and maneuver your assets in a certain way where it's going to work for you? Do you do that route? Because it seems like right now, if you do want to go that route, if I was any one of, let's say I was any one of Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, maybe Gary Trent Jr., I wouldn't do an extension right now. Why would I do that? My value in the offseason for teams that, for whatever reason, maybe you're missing a piece. You came this close to, going to a conference finals, or you came this close to winning an NBA championship, or maybe you came this close to making the playoffs, right? I'm talking about the other 29 franchises, okay? Your value as a player, if you're Pascal or OG Anunoby, it skyrockets as a free agent. Pascal's in the last year of his contract. OG Anunoby could opt out, and Gary Trent Jr. opted in this year, where we were expected to see a contract extension for Gary Trent Jr. I believe it was Michael Haynes that may have come out and said that at some point in the summer. That seems like a long time ago now, right? So that's one direction that you could go with the team. The other direction is, do you trade Pascal Siakam, one of either Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby, reclaim some of your assets, maybe get younger? Do you trade both of them and just blow this thing up? Like, there's a whole lot of different avenues that the front office could take right now in order to take a direction with this team. Because right now, we really don't know. We don't know. Like, it's not a glaring that there's a specific direction that this team should go, right? Depending on where you fit in the whole equation as a fan, right? There might be some people listening right now that say, "Guy, of course there is. Like, trade Pascal." Or there might be a guy, of course there is. Sign Pascal. Like, the thing is, everybody has their own opinions based on what they see for the franchise, right? But here's one thing I want people to think about. This franchise has come a long way, y'all. A long way. I don't know if any of y'all, like, there might be some people that don't remember this type of stuff, but man, we've been spurned for so long from star players like Tracy McGrady. We wanted him to come back, play with Vince Carter. T-Mac is even on record to say, like, yo, like, if I wish I would have stayed with Toronto, me and Vince would have had a chance for a championship playing together. But, it was either that, be second to Vince, or go be your own man on your own team now, and you're at home in Orlando. Like, these are decisions that NBA players make. But for so long, it seems like the Raptors have always come out on the wrong end of the stick for those decisions, right? Vince Carter, we botched that. As a front office, we botched the Vince Carter situation, right? For a player that had an injury history for maybe 2 seasons, right? 2 seasons he had injury history, and the front office was just like, yo, you gotta play. You gotta play. And then things kind of soured, and then we ended up trading him for a bag of chips and a pop. But as Raptors fans, we all lost. We lost that. We've always come out on the wrong end of the stick in some of these situations. Chris Bosh, we needed you to play down the stretch of your last season here in Toronto to make the playoffs, right? You were sitting out with an injury, but you didn't give a damn. You didn't give a damn. It was all about you. And I'm not mad at that. Like, yo, do you, fam? Do you? While you were here, you were like, yo, you were an all-star year after year, all-NBA. Like, yo, Chris Bosh was sick when he was here. The wins didn't translate, but the first chance that he got after he got a little bit of a bag and now he's eligible for the big bag, out of here. Spurned again. Fans are on the wrong side of the situation, right? Even if you think about DeMar DeRozan, a player that wanted to be here in Toronto for the rest of his career. This is a guy that probably may have taken some pay cuts, not like a huge pay cut, but like the hometown discount, even though he's not from here, to stay here and build something here. Now, we traded him for Kawhi Leonard, and it made this hat possible and this hoodie possible. right? But what happened after that? Kawhi just dipped. He didn't want to be here. Again, Raptors on the wrong side of the stick. You know? Shoot, we could even say Fred VanVleet last season. Bet on himself. At least he was consistent with that. He came in from day one saying, bet on yourself. Made his own merch and everything. And then he's out of here. We're like, yo, take a little hometown haircut for us, guy. Nah, bro, I'm going after the bag. And I'm not mad at him for that. The Rockets are having a good season. But the point that I'm trying to make here, the reason why I said all of that, is because be careful what you wish for, Raptors fans. Be careful, because we've seen year after year after year, trade after trade, free agency signing elsewhere, this, that, and the third, where it didn't work out for us. It did not work out for us. At least not long term. So if we want to trade Pascal and we want to trade OG, and we're saying Scotty's the guy now, I get it, and I'm with it. If that's a direction that the franchise wants to go, I am with it. But it hasn't always worked out for us in the best way when we've lost our stars. And it's so ironic that we come from a history of players leaving and not wanting to be here, and bad trades and front office bumping heads with the players, that we are now trying to get rid of stars. This is where we are now as a franchise. I know that we are a little bit spoiled now as a franchise. We've tasted winning for a long time. We got fat on winning. Let's keep it a buck. We've gotten fat on winning. This is a winning franchise in any which way, shape, or form. This franchise has come a long way. Now, we always need to do what's right for the franchise. And I'm not saying that all those situations are the same. The Tracy McGrady's, the Vince Carters, the Chris Bosches. They're not all the same, right? They're not the same as this Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby situation. All I'm saying is we got to think about it just a little bit. Because I remember what it's like when nobody wanted to be here. Real talk. Right? Now, the front office needs to make a decision, regardless of that little soliloquy or rant I just went on. Regardless of that, the front office gets paid to make these decisions and do what's right for the health of the franchise. Okay? And right now on the court, like, everything has just been inconsistent. It's been hella inconsistent, right? We are 8-8, but we've seen games where we've lost by 20, games where we've won by 20, games where we've been down by 20, games and we've come back to win, games where we've been down by 20 and we lost by 25, games where we've been up by 15 and lost in the fourth quarter. Like, we've seen it all so far in this early Raptors season. So it's hard to put your finger on it as to what is this team. And I was talking about a team like the Orlando Magic that have gone through it. They have gone through it. And they actually just came out and beat Boston the other day. This young team that's been developing and they've been trying to figure out their way as a franchise. It's almost very reminiscent of the Toronto Raptors. And lo and behold, former Toronto Raptors assistant general manager Jeff Weltman is the president of basketball operations over there in Orlando, which is the equivalent of a Masai Ujiri. So kudos to them, but we are in a different situation than that. We're not building from the ground up right now. We've been to the mountaintop, And I mean, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? The play on the floor is widely inconsistent. Now, I'm going to hit y'all with a few stats, right? Like, right now in points per game, we are 18th, 112.6. Opponents' points per game, we are 112.5 points per game. That's good for 12th. At one point, the Raptors were in the top, I believe they're in the top 5 or top 6 for defense in the league. I believe it was top 6. And things have started to slip, although our offense has started to get better. So as things start to even out now, this team is looking like it just may be a team that works around 500. Works around 500. If you look at our offensive rating, we are 17th, right? So these are scores over 100 possessions. Defensive rating, we're right at 12, where we were for the opponent's points per game, right? So not bad, not bad. But if you look at the net rating, which takes into to offensive rating minus defensive rating, we are 21st overall. 21st. Now, having a net rating where you rank at 21st in the NBA, that doesn't sound like a team that's ready to do any damage in the playoffs. It sounds like a widely inconsistent team to me. And I know there's context. There's context because new coaching staff, new point guard running the show, right? New roles on the team. Scotty Barnes is now a guy on this team, like a guy for real, right? There's no Fred VanVleet to prop you up from a leadership standpoint. There's no Kyle Lowry on this team. You know what I mean? But like, the team is just inconsistent, man. The team is just inconsistent. I'm not sure what type of team we are. I mean, points in the paint, we're number 8 in the NBA. But if Pascal's not eating in a night, we're not doing no work in the paint. And if Pascal is doing work, putting in work, it seems like Scotty Barnes doesn't show up to play. At least not on the offensive end from a scoring standpoint, where we need him to be a scorer on this team. And when Scotty is a scorer and he's cooking all night, it's like Pascal Siakam's missing in action. Now I get it, man. Like new coaching system, new schemes, all that type of stuff. Like there is some positives. We are second in the NBA in assists. That's magnificent. Magnificent. I love that we're second in the NBA in assists. You know what I'm saying? But then in turnovers, we're 24th. We're 24th in turnovers offensively. So yeah, you're getting assists, but like you're turning over the basketball at a high clip because you're taking risks with all these types of passes. So is it working on offense? I don't know. Is the turnovers due to the fact that dudes are still trying to get comfortable throughout the offensive schematics? I don't know. But again, just a widely inconsistent team. It's like they're at one end of the spectrum in one stat, and then with that opposite stat, they're way over here. Or maybe they're both close together, right in the middle. That's not the stats for a winning team. You know? Like we get out and run some of our best workers on the fast break. We're number 4 in the NBA in fast break points. You know? But then we're 21 in second chance points. You know, or points off of turnovers. We are um hmm, points off of turnovers, we are 22nd. 22nd in points off of turnovers. And then the opponent's points off of turnovers, we are 27th. The 27th is not good in this case. It's not good. We're giving up a lot. This is not the mark of a good team, guys. This is not the mark of a good team. And then when you look at our bench, we are 21st in bench scoring, 30 points a game. Right? So our bench has even been widely, like, crazy inconsistent. Or maybe that's just who they are. They're not, like, there's no real scoring off the bench. I like that Darko's playing the bench. I mean, we're 16th in bench minutes played. That's awesome. So at least he's trying to develop and give guys confidence. I give him respect for that. But, like, what's the direction of the franchise? Right? Like, do we think that any of these guys off the bench are going to be one day there might be a starter? Are they going to be a solid rotation piece for years to come? Hard to say, right? Like, these are things that the front office is going to have to figure out. We're going to have to figure this out. But, like, just based on all of those stats, I mean, this doesn't sound like a very good team. It sounds like we're good some nights and then we're just awful other nights. So the way that I would look at it is, if this team was a little bit more consistent with their play, like, now they're going to have a little bit more time because, like I said, December the 1st, I don't see, like, trades just starting happening and rumors just flying off the handle from the Raptors standpoint. All the rumors that are coming in right now, they're like, oh, these teams are interested in trading for our players, right? Or the Raptors may be involved or interested in Zach LaVine. But when Shams gave the report, he said these three teams are interested in Zach LaVine. I forget who we said no. I think it was like the 76ers, Miami, and it was somebody else. I think it was like Dallas or something. I don't remember. But then he threw in there like, oh, the Raptors could be another option. Then he talked about the Raptors for like a minute and a half. Like, dude, you're just speculating out here. Like, you said the other three teams are interested, and then you just throw in the Raptors. But anyways, that's neither here or there. There's no real rumors coming out saying that the Raptors are interested in that player or this player or these guys are on the trade block. Like, there's nothing that has come out that would suggest that that is the case right now in Toronto. So if it's one thing that I do like about it, is that this front office is staying tight-lipped on what their direction is moving forward. And maybe it's just one of those situations where they just have no idea. Because for at least the last year, I think pundits and whoever out there have just been trying to figure out, what are the Raptors doing? No lie. What are the Raptors doing? And I think us as fans might feel the same way. And we're out here speculating. And that's kind of what happens when there's no real news. It's just people speculating based on, hearsay, or maybe just based on some research on what you think might be good for the team. I don't know. Different factors, different reasons. Nothing tangible that has come out of the Raptors camp. Right? But I think they're going to have to figure out something soon. Because we don't want the Fred VanVleet situation. We don't want it. Especially when you have multiple players that can just, pack in the middle of the night and dip. So the Raptors are going to have to be very careful in terms of how they want to move. I mean, there's no incentive to, like, tank this season. No real incentive, unless you're looking to get a top 6 pick in the draft, because the Spurs own our first round pick for this year, or for next year, I should say, and it's top 6 protected, right? So if it's top 6, we get our pick. Anything outside of that goes to the Spurs. And this team doesn't look like they're going to be a top 6 team, but even if you trade away Pascal Siakam, for example, or OG Anunoby, this team still might be good enough to be in a play-in and not be able to snag a top 6 pick. So you're hoping in a situation like that, if you do make a trade for trade away one of your better players, that you're able to pull in some draft capital in return and possibly get into next year's draft. Possibly. And these are things that the front office are thinking about. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Right? And if you do end up in the top 6 this year, just for example, the Spurs still own a pick for the next 2 seasons after that that's top 6 protected. So as soon as you're outside the top 6, the Spurs get your first round pick. So any trade that the Raptors make, right? If they go ahead and make a trade, if that's a direction that they want to go as a franchise, they got to bring in some draft capital, some proper draft capital, because you don't have your draft pick, basically. Now, there's also an option where if you're able to persuade Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby to sign a contract extension within the season, right? Not wait for free agency. I mean, it might work out a little bit better for your cap situation. You keep guys signed through next year, and then at some point, let's say things aren't working out next year, that's a trade asset that you can send out the door, bring in something back, maybe some younger players and some draft capital. These are options of the franchise, but as of right now, there's no real direction that I could see from the franchise outside of 2 things. Either trying to build up value for your players, letting them kind of get into the season a little bit more. Because be honest, Pascal Siakam had a doo-doo start to the year. Not a good start. So his trade value, even though it's still relatively high, if you were to trade him in, let's say, November or something, now no one makes a trade of a player of that type of caliber in October, November, unless he's just disgruntled, right? But Pascal's being an ultimate pro. He's going about his business, and he's gotten better as the season has gone along. Now, your jumper's still struggling, fam. I don't care what you did against the Bulls. I do. I appreciate everything that you've been doing the last few weeks, but the jumper's not there. Everything's short range for you right now, fam. Right? But I still think that the other 29 NBA teams would still look at Pascal Siakam and know that his potential is that he still could be a solid mid-range to outside shooter, regardless of what he's doing this season. But the Raptors are going to have to figure out something, man. Either you try to side these guys to an extension, which would signal that you're trying to compete this season, or you make some trades. Either you trade both of those players and start building towards the future around Scotty Barnes, or maybe you trade one of those players and try to get some depth pieces for maybe your bench that ranks, what I say, 21st or 24th in the league in scoring. At this point, I'm not ready to say what the Raptors should do, right? I'm not saying what they should do, because you don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. You know, Pascal could be playing ball with Masai and Bobby, saying, "Yo, let's try to work out this extension on the low, because I want to be here. I love Toronto. Let me help out the franchise a little bit, and I'm not going to take the full bag, even though I'm eligible for a possible supermax if I make All NBA." Right? Now that just might be wishful thinking, right? But I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I think OG Anunoby done linked up with Rich Paul and them, so now they're getting everybody a bag in terms of his representation for his agents, as his agent. So hard to say. But if OG and Pascal are not playing ball on an extension with the front office, then I think you got to start looking at some trades, man. I think you got to start looking at some trades because this team's not. If it's a 500 team, and that is literally the destiny and the fate of this particular team as constructed, that's not a team that's going to do anything in the playoffs. You're a one and done. You know, you, I mean, sure, it feels nice to get playoff basketball here, but I mean, sometimes with the playoffs, like we've been on that side before. Remember with like the Wizards, where like we were feeling good that season, we had home court advantage. Like the first time we played the Wizards, like against Paul Pierce and them. I think Lou Will was on our team then. I think he won six man of the year. Like we got swept. We're like, yeah, we're hype. I went to the first two games at home where we lost, and I watched the other two games where we lost in Washington, and then we're out of there. We're out of there. So as fast as the playoffs came, it ended for us. Now I'm not saying that that's the fate of this particular squad, but I mean, right now, just being 500, I can't expect anything more than maybe a couple of wins in the first round. Couple wins, maybe push someone to 7, but like, let's be honest here, you know? Or maybe you get lucky and you can upset somebody. But the way that this squad is so inconsistent, I just don't see it at this point. Now, if they get it together, Pascal and Scotty Barnes start doing their thing together as a team, Malachi Flynn showing that he could be a consistent bench player, not one night where you have 14 best player on the floor, they link you up with the chain, like the locker room chain that Darko got, and then the very next night you get 2 points. Like that's not, we're all over the place. We're all over the place. Was the coaching decision, the coaching hire the right decision? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing, we're stuck with that guy for at least this season or next season, no matter how bad it gets. They're not going to get rid of Darko after 1 year. Now, I don't think he's done a terrible job so far to start the year. I think coaches need some time to implement their program. So I'm open-minded to the wide net that they cast for the coaching search, right? They even interviewed JJ Redick in the offseason. I don't even know what that was about, but imagine JJ Redick was our coach. That'd be I don't want to say it's a joke, but like, I mean, anyways, we got Darko Rajakovic. I think he has the right intentions, but we're not seeing all the results so far. Right? And then when you think about like even just distractions, maybe the front office is distracted by this whole lawsuit that the New York, like James Dolan and the New York Knicks have filed against the Raptors. Like, I didn't even cover this because I thought it was nonsense. But like, what is going on with the Raptors organization? This is not normal. For an organization that's been top notch for like the last 10 years, maybe more, top notch, some of the envy of the league. We see our assistant coaches go everywhere. Our executives are going everywhere. Maybe it's just that we've gotten poached so badly that we're starting to see some of the results right now of other teams just poaching from your franchise. Right? But like, this is just foolishness. Just foolishness. The Knicks are suing the Toronto Raptors, their new head coach and a former Knicks scouting employee, alleging they conspired to steal thousands of videos and scouting secrets Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which owns the Raptors, denies the allegations and says it's launching an internal investigation. Like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? What is this distraction? I didn't even want to talk about this, but since we're talking about the health of the franchise and the state of the franchise, maybe they're distracted by this foolishness. What is this? This is the stuff that Darko brought in with him, guy. Now, I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm not, but it was his hire. It was his hire that came to Toronto from NY, and we got a $10 million lawsuit. Like, I never thought I would see the day when Messiah is running basketball operations for the Raptors that we would see something so foolish, bro. Now, I think James Dolan is on one too, right? This is not like the Raptors' fault or anything like that. I think James Dolan is just on one personally. Now, he's a billionaire, I think twice or three times over, more than that. He does not care about little old me, and I get that. I don't really care about him either. But, like, this is just crazy. This is crazy. We've been, like, trained to think that, to believe that the Raptors are one of the better organizations in all of the NBA. And I still believe that we are. I still believe that we are. But when you recently just have top players just walk out the door, right? Nick Nurse had some issues with the front office and the players. Don't know what's happening there. We're getting sued by the Knicks. Don't know. But I'm saying, like, these things are just, I mean, it seems like there might be a little chink in our armor with the front office, right? And there's always been this in Masai we trust thing, you know? And I'm part of that gang. I'm part of that gang, believe it or not. I'm part of that gang. But looking at things objectively, all the things that you have done recently, putting us in this position now from a contractual situation with some of our better players, I don't know what to say about that. Right? You hired a coach that hired a scouting guy, and we're now being sued for 10 milli. Like, things are just off here in Toronto, y'all. Things are just off, man. Things are just off. But the franchise cannot be distracted. We are going to have to make a decision sooner or later in terms of, whether we're just going full blow up and we're building around Scotty, whether we're going to hang on to our assets and figure out what to do with them later for maybe more draft capital, put ourselves in cap hell, right? Because you don't want to be paying above the luxury tax for a team that barely makes it into the play-in or doesn't even make it out of the play-in. Right? That's fiscally irresponsible. Now, I'm not an accountant, but basic math will tell you that you're not getting the best return on your investment. Basic financials. Right? And James Dolan is saying that Tannenbaum and Adam Silver are like buddy, right? So, like, he doesn't want Adam Silver to be an independent arbitrator because it's not fair. There's like a conflict of interest there. So he wants this to go to federal court. Federal court. These are the distractions that the Raptors have right now. Now, I'm not talking about this again unless a situation comes of it. I tried my best to just avoid it. I thought it would be dealt with by now. But we're coming up in a part of the year now where the Raptors are going to have to make a decision on what they want to do with this franchise. And this is just a distraction. I don't love it. I don't love it at all. Right. And again, as a franchise, the health of the Raptors 905 right now, we are 0-7 to start the year with the Raptors 905. 0-7. This is a team that had six straight appearances in the playoffs where you've won the first round, right? Not that you got there and got bounced out one year. We finished first on top of the conference. We have one title. We've been in like 3 conference championship games. And we're 0-7. 0-7. Like, that is one thing that made this Raptors franchise so, I guess, made other teams envious of us. Envious that everything was in sync from top to bottom, side to side, affiliates, partnerships, Giants of Africa. Everything was just, you know what I'm saying? On point with this franchise. And I'm starting to see some chinks in the armor just overall within the franchise. Sometimes we don't pay attention to the Raptors 905, and I'm guilty of it too because, we want to watch the big squad, but like it was such an important part of our franchise, of our being, developing players. And Dwayne Casey gets all the credit in the world for working with the coaching staff, making sure that we're running the same things in the Raptors 905 and that we are running with the Raptors, right? So that when players come from the 905 now, they're fitting right into the system. They're developing down there. We had coaches down there. Jerry Stackhouse won us a championship down there. And we just let him leave the building, fam. Let him leave the building. Now, here's the thing. I understand that coaches also want to spread their wings as well. Be like, yo, I did this already. I want to go try something new. And maybe there's not a spot open with the big squad. But, like, I don't know, man. Stackhouse was looking like he could be possible. He should have been on our bench, like doing some things, lead assistant. I don't know, man. That's a hard one. But like our team just hasn't like worked our development system in recent years the way that we've been working it since 2016, 2017, right? We've had Pascal Siakam be a Finals MVP. Lorenzo Brown and Chris Boucher were most valuable players of the year down there for the 905. We've had players such as Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, DeLon Wright, Chris Boucher, Gary Payton II, a defensive stalwart, right? O'Shea Brissett. All these guys have played down in 905. Delano Banton. Now he's over there in Boston. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like 905, we can't let that fall apart too. Can't let that fall apart. Right? We've had coaches of the year, Jerry Stackhouse, executive of the year, Chad Sanders. Now, I'd never even heard of Chad Sanders and didn't even know he had executive of the year. But I looked to go see. I'm like, where'd this guy go? Because that was just in 2021. That's a front office guy. Now, good on the Raptors for bringing him into your front office. He's like director of scouting now for the Raptors. But those are the types of things that you do with your minor league system. You let Jerry Stackhouse leave, but at least we got Chad Sanders. But like, what are you scouting? Because recently, the cupboard's been bare down here at the 905. Bare. So, anyways, man, I don't know. I would love to sit here and say that we're in great shape. I'd love to sit here and say that we're in great shape, but it seems to me like we may be a franchise that is going through some difficult waters right now. We are traveling through some difficult waters right now, and the waves are big. and we're trying to hold on for dear life. We're trying to hold on for dear life right now. I didn't want to make this episode to like bash the team or anything like that. I just wanted everyone to be aware in terms of where we are at this point in the season on November 26, 2023. There are some decisions that need to be made by our front office that take into account, your financials, that take into part, building for the future through the draft, through the 905. I mean, Grady Dick went and played for the 905 the other day, and he shot 1 of 12. 1 of 12. But again, this might just be a franchise right now that's just traveling through some difficult waters. And I think right now as fans, I don't think that we need to. I would encourage us as fans to try to stick with it. Try to stick with it through these uncertain times. Uncertain times, right? It may get worse before it gets any better. That may be a situation. Or it may be that, hey, we catch a little bit of luck again and we're right back there, baby. You never know, right? When you think back on it, like a lot of people think Kyle Lowry is the greatest Raptor of all time, but we almost traded him to the Knicks. James Dolan rescinded the trade. And then I think the following season, he went and traded for Andrea Bargnani, and now he's had it out for us ever since. That literally just could be that. But I think that's probably lower level thinking. But regardless, we got to hold on as Raptors fans, man. We got to hold on, right? The front office, I'm putting my faith in them that they are focused on the task at hand, making sure that they're putting our franchise in the best position to be strong long term. And, this is just a little blip in the road, man. A little blip in the road, right? But tonight we play the Cavs with a chance to go over 500. So maybe that would be a good start. Let's get above 500 and let's see what we can do here as a franchise, right? And then we'll figure out the rest from there. Let's just get back to over 500. All right? So, if you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. If you're not subbed, sub up, like, share, subscribe, comment on this one. Because this is a conversation that we could all have, right? This is a conversation that we've all had probably recently, and I'd love to hear your point of views on it. All right? But nevertheless, again, we are on Spotify. I'm working on getting Raptors Flex Plus on other streaming platforms, so that should be coming soon. And if you are listening to this on Spotify, please come and subscribe on YouTube. So subscribe to both YouTube, follow on Spotify, and yeah, I'm just going to keep giving y'all content, man. I'm going to keep giving y'all content. Like I said, one of my mandates for this channel is to hold players, coaches, front office accountable on behalf of the fans, right? So let's build this channel to be as big as it can. For all the people that are subscribed right now, you are part of this journey. You are part of this journey. I can't do none of this if nobody's listening, you know? So please like, share, subscribe, comment below. And I love y'all, man. You know the flex. It's me, guys. Trying a new one. Y'all like that one? It's me, guys. Anyways, I'm out. Peace.